So this is I'll be talking about stress. We're all under stress, and stress is part of life. There's good stress and there's bad stress. And the good stress is important for us. It does build, it has a number of very healthy functions. It's the bad stress that we really need to watch out for. And I want to go through and tell you the difference. Being in the current pandemic, a recent survey conducted about a week ago found that 61% of Americans who were surveyed said they were experiencing high levels of stress. And probably even worse was 45% felt depressed and hopeless. We know that there is a lot of turmoil going on, and while we have a viral pandemic, we also have a stress pandemic in the United States. Uh, what I'd like to do is this is the to-do list for today. Start off with a breathing practice that goes back for at least several thousand, if not 4,000 to 6,000 years, as a way of lowering blood pressure and heart rate. We know that physiologically. Go through definitions, talk about stress and arousal, good stress, bad stress, and ways to reduce bad stress. Now, for the breathing practice, what we're going to do, I'm going to ask you to sit comfortably, your feet on the floor, sit upright, and maybe place one hand on your stomach. And what we're going to do is we are going to slowly take a deep breath, hold the breath for several seconds, and then slowly let the breath out. Wait again several seconds, and then start to take another deep breath, and we'll repeat that. We're going to do this 6 times. So let's start. Take a deep breath slowly. Feel your stomach as it's expanding. Hold the breath for 3 seconds. Then slowly expel. Breathe out. Wait another several seconds and start to breathe in again. Breathe out. Wait and then breathe in again. Again, breathe deeply. Breathe out. Each time, take 3 seconds between moving to the next step. Okay, we will move on. Again, this is something that's been known to ancient cultures. It's been passed down to us. Sometimes it's been forgotten. Cardiac care nurses have told me it's one of the things they teach their patients. And if you can measure blood pressure and heart rate, what you will normally find is it will reduce both. It's a way of relaxing. It's a physiological signal to the body. And it helps whenever the mind's wandering with anxiety or racing thoughts. And it helps to relax. So it's just one physiological measure you can take to relax. So stress, we hear the word all the time. The current operating definition for stress is that it's a stimulus that initiates in the brain a fight or flight response, a stress response, which causes the release of stress hormones into the blood: adrenaline, cortisol, vasopressin, and oxytocin. Adrenaline or epinephrine will cause the adrenaline rush. Cortisol changes the metabolism in the body, shunting it over to the muscles and so forth to give you the energy you need to deal with the stressful situation. Vasopressin raises your blood pressure. Oxytocin is actually protective, and it has a number of actions, so we're going to talk a little bit more about oxytocin. So again, the fight or flight response, and this is something we've all experienced: the adrenaline rush, cortisol changing the metabolism, blood pressure going up. And think about the way you felt. With adrenaline, suddenly your attention is very, very focused. Your vision is focused. You're very attentive to what's going on and making a decision, try to assess how do you respond. And just take a second to think about what you felt whenever you've had a fight or flight response. Now, that's a full-blown stress reaction. Everyday stress situations can stimulate lower levels of these stress hormones. So it's not just fight or flight, it's just a stimulation of in the body of arousal. And that's how it's been defined, that stress is synonymous with arousal, which comes through activation of the sympathetic nervous system. And again, it can be measured by the level of stress hormones in the blood: adrenaline, cortisol, vasopressin, and oxytocin. Now, stress is also largely perception. Hans Selye, the Canadian physician who essentially identified stress as a general feature affecting our health, emphasized it wasn't the stress itself that kills us, it's our reaction to it. Now, why is COVID-19 so stressful? Well, by the definition of what creates post-traumatic stress syndrome, is bad stress can come from exposure to a traumatic stressor, death, threatened death, actual or threatened serious injury. We all live now with this viral epidemic, and this is, we know that it is indeed dangerous. I think it's not only dangerous, but the response we've had to make to it. I drew this the other day to help us realize and visualize. So what we're looking at here is stress and how stress levels goes up, level of arousal that we can measure by these stress hormones. And this goes back over 100 years, talking about stress, arousal, and performance. You can think of it anything from giving a speech to playing an athletic game, playing whatever you're doing. As arousal goes up, you go from resting to a comfort level to a optimal zone. All this is good stress. If you're an athlete, you like to get into the zone because that's a good place to be if you're playing a game, whatever you're doing, even playing cards, to be in this zone. Now, staying in this level and then going beyond it, you start getting to bad stress, fatigue, exhaustion, getting into the danger zone with exhaustion, and then with high levels of stress for long periods of time, you get into the red zone that could lead to burnout. So good stress actually builds the body, is important. Bad stress, certainly the danger zone, the red zone with burnout, can be very, very dangerous. Here are some of the symptoms people have with bad stress: headache, problems concentrating, upset stomach, fatigue, problems sleeping, nightmares, depression. The big one is, here are some of the big ones. Depression is awfully serious, deep depression, feeling overwhelmed, irritable, your appetite either depressed or excessive eating. So these are some of the things that happen. This is not the only reason people get headaches, but or these other problems, but bad stress certainly can contribute to these. For diseases, prolonged levels of high stress cause heart disease, diabetes, depression, GI problems. They compromise immune functions, and they worsen existing disease symptoms. A lot of my work has been with Parkinson's disease, and I have a number of friends with Parkinson's disease. And the level of stress they're under determines often how severe the symptoms are on a given day. Low stress, they may do a lot better than if they're in high stress. Alzheimer's is the same. We could keep going. I've just listed 3, but almost any disease you can think of, bad stress makes it worse. Good stress, and again, good stress is part of life. Good stress is actually is protective. It allows us to rise to perform under conditions that involve threats, challenges, opportunities. And a major difference between good stress and bad stress is good stress is short term. Recovery time is critical, and it does promote good health. Here are some things: overall well-being, good stress, lower levels of stress, a good workout every day, a walk, things that you're doing strengthens the cardiovascular system, has the immune systems perform at a higher level, and it also promotes healthy brain functions. So it's not that we want to eliminate stress from our lives. As part of our lives, we want to keep it in the good level. Now, I would like to go through a case study. And in this case study, we're going to talk about whether it's good stress or bad stress. And I want you to let me know your opinion. And this is an actual happening. Linda Geddes is a journalist, a science journalist in England. And she was married on 10th of February, 2010. She calls it "My Big Fat Geek Wedding, Tears, Joy, and Oxytocin." Now, what she did is she invited a neuroscientist, Paul Zak, to her wedding to collect blood samples from the wedding party to measure oxytocin levels. Oxytocin is a loving, bonding hormone. Paul Zak is a scientist who works on oxytocin and its role in human behavior. So Zak collected blood samples right before and right after the wedding vows. I don't know that I would have gone through this. I don't know. Love is blind, and you do a lot of crazy things, so I probably would have in getting married, but certainly is a little bit unusual. Now here's Paul Zak taking blood from the wedding party, and that is Linda Geddes. Here's the wedding. Everybody's very, very happy. And this is after they've taken the wedding vows. So Paul Zak draws blood again. And I'd like you to mentally try to rank this. Now, knowing that oxytocin is a love hormone, bonding, it's also a stress hormone. Who would you predict would have the highest levels going from high to low after the wedding vows? The bride, the groom, the mother of the bride, father of the groom's brother Matt, or a bridesmaid, we'll say Susie. So think for a minute. And we're talking about good stress versus bad stress, but oxytocin is a stress hormone that's released. Bonding is also called the love hormone. So think about who might have the highest levels. And then we'll go and see the answer. Well, it turns out if you look here, here are the change in the oxytocin levels after the wedding ceremony. Here's the bride, very high levels. Mother of the bride is right up there. The father of the groom is up there. Thank goodness for Nick, the groom, that his levels were up there too. I would hate to have that being held over him the rest of their marriage, that his levels were low. Bride's friend had high levels. The brother Matt had decent levels. Here are people with lower levels: a mutual friend, another friend, the bride's friend, another friend, and here's bridesmaid Susie. Now I think there may be a story here. Her levels actually went down quite a bit. We all know a lot of ways to create bad stress, and so I'm not going to talk about how we promote bad stress. I'm going to talk today about ways to reduce it, and three very, very important general strategies. The first one, and probably I would say at the top of the list, would be to nourish strong social relationships. Large-scale studies, this is one that was done by the Gallup World Poll over a 10-year period, measuring the people that were the happiest versus those that were not. And it found that those that were the happiest had strong social relationships and strong social support systems. Now, this is one of those duh moments of what else would you expect? But yes, it does emphasize that the importance of maintaining strong social relationships. Helping others, exercising, and not smoking were associated. And my experience, and maybe your experience through this healthy at home period, has been that it's very important to stay in contact with friends and family. Do it by phone, do it by Zoom or other methods, and even meet. I have a good friend who and his wife whose daughter and son-in-law and grandchildren live nearby, and they come and sit on the patio, and they have a glass door between them and their daughter-in-law and son-in-law, and are able to talk, but it's very safe and everybody's happy about that. The other thing to do is write letters, and I know people that are doing that, sending emails. But this is a time, in fact, I know of friends who have been sending letters to people that they've not talked with for a fair amount of time to reestablish these relationships, or sending emails. So this is one of the things to help reduce bad stress. Another is staying physically active. Now, activity it does a lot for the body. Here we list a number of things. One, it causes the release of a number of hormones that are important in regulating metabolism. So it is one of the ways of treating diabetes is to increase exercise or prevent it. So it regulates metabolic pathways, anti-inflammatory, promotes good vascularization, which we all need. It strengthens bone, and it also improves cognitive functions. And this is one that surprised me. I've checked it out, and there are some very good large-scale studies showing that staying physically active actually lowers the risk of up to 30% against a number of cancers, probably through promoting better health and immune functions. So physically staying active, whether it's walking around the house. One of the things I did is I certainly didn't want anybody in cleaning my house while I was during the COVID-19 pandemic we're in. So I've done something that was sort of against my best wishes. I decided I would clean the house. Well, I can tell you, I appreciate who does it a lot more now, because keeping track of the amount of active minutes you can get, you can get pretty good activity by just cleaning, mopping, sweeping, vacuuming. So it doesn't mean that you have to go out and run a marathon or a jog. Walking's a great exercise. So there are a lot of exercises we can do that are good, and they do promote better health, and they also promote dealing better with depression. In fact, large-scale epidemiological studies have found that those that do get regular exercise, it reduces the risk for Alzheimer's by 40%, stroke and heart by 30%, type 2 diabetes by 30%, depression by 50%, and again, some cancers by 30%. My career has been in developing drugs and medical treatments for neurodegenerative diseases, Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, and none of the drugs that I've worked on or that anyone else has worked on, there have been a lot of clinical trials, have had much impact at all on Alzheimer's. The fact is that a blockbuster drug would be one that would probably have an impact of 1 to 2%. By staying physically active, we can reduce the risk by 40%. Now, this doesn't mean that you're immune to it, but it does give one more good years, and it does lower the risk for Alzheimer's. So it's good for the brain. A third major thing to do is to realize that while we're in very difficult times, that there are also good things that are going on. And I put down, celebrate good things that are happening. What psychologists tell us, and there's a lot of papers and studies and books out on this, and I think we realize it intuitively, that it's human nature to be, if there's one negative thing happening and 3 good things that are happening, we're going to focus on the negative. And in fact, it's human nature to let the negativity dominate and even become contagious. We spread it. So there is a negativity bias. Part of it is natural with the COVID-19 pandemic. We have to be very aware that there are risks out there on certain things that we do. But it's also important to recognize that there are other positive things that are happening. And in talking with friends, I run a class on staying healthier at home, and talking with those that are doing well. One is helping others. Well, I mean, you can help others by emails, by phone calls. I got some messages through the mail on comments and articles that were very helpful. Many enjoy listening to music. There are good events. A very important thing could be expressing and receiving gratitude. Sending someone thanks by a letter or an email for something they've done or sent. And whenever you can, get out and enjoy nature. I've had others, and I've experienced this too, just the pleasure of going outdoors early in the morning, now that it's springtime, and hearing the birds, seeing the sun come up or seeing the sun go out. So there are a lot of things, and we need to keep these in mind and enjoy them as we're going along. 6 years ago, the NPR, National Public Radio, the Robert Wood Johnson Foundation, and the Harvard Public School of Public Health did a very large national survey, and it was measuring stress in America, which was high back then, and certainly as high or higher now. And they talked to people on what they found really helped. And 94% said one of the things that really helped was spending time outdoors. This is springtime, we could do that. So getting outdoors in nature, seeing nature is one way that's very helpful. Others said regularly spending time on a hobby. Almost 90% said regularly exercising. A lot of people, and I agree with this, spend time having time with pets are very important. Meditation, praying is important for many people. And meditation is, prayer could be a form of meditation. There are a lot of different types of prayer. And then spending time with family or friends. These are things that are helpful. It's whenever you're realizing that you're getting into a high stress situation that you can start spending more time outdoors, going for a walk, working on hobbies, and exercising. These are all things that can help. So in getting at the question of we accommodate to high levels of stress, and in a sense, sometimes we're placed in a situation to where we seem to think we don't have a choice, but we need to, it's very important. I will say that my wife was very ill for a number of years with lupus. As a primary caregiver, I recognized that there were a lot of high stress times, not always high stress, there were some good times too. But that's whenever I really started getting involved in finding ways to manage stress. Walking is great, taking time for yourself. This is where family and friends and care assistants can be very helpful, where you have time to do this. And so that can be very, very important. Another place we have a choice is to reduce the duration of exposure to negativity, which is very stressful. And one that comes to mind immediately is over listening to the news. If you turn on and watch the news channels that are going 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, they are showing the worst of the worst that's going on. It's important to stay informed, but you don't have to be immersed in it fully to know that there are things we need to do, and there are some serious things going on in our country. It's important to reduce things that are highly stressful, and where we have activities that we can do that, and to increase things that promote good stress, things we're talking about. A third thing is perception and expectations. a very important study, several studies that have been done on large populations, have found that people that don't worry about the stress, that they understand stress, people that think all stress is bad, actually have a larger percentage of health problems and die sooner than people that do not. That those that can maintain and understand and appreciate good stress and realize that it's doing some good things for your body and mind do better. That's true also for Alzheimer's disease. There was a study published last year on individuals that had the apolipid E4 allele that increases the risk for Alzheimer's disease with aging. Those that were positive and optimistic had half the rate of developing Alzheimer's disease by age 65 as those who were extremely negative and essentially very depressed personalities. Now, that doesn't mean that those that were optimistic and were positive about life will never develop Alzheimer's, but they're going to have more good years and can appreciate those good years. Well, what we're going to do then is one more breathing practice. We're going to do it for 2 minutes, and then I'll see if there are any questions, and if there are not any questions, we can end. So again, I'm going to ask you to sit comfortably. Sit upright. If you're comfortable, close your eyes. Put one hand on your stomach. I'm going to ask you to breathe in deeply. Before you exhale, count to 3. Then very slowly exhale. Breathe out. Again, count to 3. And slowly take a deep breath. We're going to do this 6 times.